This is where the mental game comes into play. Ronnie Jonker is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
You can feel the tension building. Richard Reshka is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time. That's the out lap done for Richard Reshka. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. It looks like Richard Reshka is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tires and get everything just right. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Jonathan Geldenhuys is rising to the occasion.
It's always impressive to see a driver in the zone like this LUSAIL. Let's see if they can maintain this pace.
Jonathan Geldenhuys has just completed that lap in 138.983. Their best lap so far is 138.983, putting them in P2. This is what it's all about. Richard Reshka is putting everything they've got into this qualifying session.
It's certainly exciting to watch. But let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
Richard Reshka is on their out lap.
This is the moment they've been preparing for. Let's see if they can execute.
Jacobus Basson is trying to find that extra performance. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Peter Geldenhuys is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Peter Geldenhuys can deliver.
Greg Hofford is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Good question, Lucy. It's all or nothing now. They need to stay focused, hit their marks, and extract every ounce of performance from that car to move up the grid.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Sandon Ilif has completed their outlap. JP Brand is trying to find that extra performance. Richard Reshka is looking for ways to improve their consistency. Willie Van Wyck has some work to do, as that 147.876 is only good enough for 9th.
There's still more time to be had, but I don't know if they're going to find it before the session is over.
Jamie Nichols is trying to find that extra performance.
Every driver needs something different, Lucy. Some drivers excel when they push harder, while other drivers benefit more from relaxing and being in a flow state.
Donovan Liu is on their first flying lap.
They certainly are. This is shaping up to be a great performance by Donovan Liu.
Donovan Liu crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Jacobus Besson is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Well, Lucy, they'll need to find those extra tenths of a second by pushing just a little bit harder on the braking and carrying more speed through the corners.
Richard Reshka is trying to find that extra performance.
Good question, Lucy. It's all or nothing now. They need to stay focused, hit their marks, and extract every ounce of performance from that car to move up the grid.
Jacobus Besson is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Every driver needs something different, Lucy. Some drivers excel when they push harder, while other drivers benefit more from relaxing and being in a flow state.
Jamie Nichols has secured a respectable ninth in the qualifying session. This is a great spot to use as a launchpad for a strong race performance.
You hit the nail on the head, Lucy. Jamie Nichols' current position of ninth is a testament to their skill and determination. Now, they must stay sharp to make the most of this opportunity.
And there goes Richard Reshka, currently in position 8. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still time to improve their result. Incredible drive by Sandon Illiv so far, earning them 7th. The competition is fierce, however, and they will need to quickly find more time to get even closer to the sharp end of the grid.
You're spot on, Lucy. Sandon Iliv's current position of 7th is a testament to their skills and determination. Now, they face the challenge of maintaining their position against hungry rivals.
It's an impressive showing by Ernest Heather, currently in 5th. They've showcased their talent, but will need to find those crucial extra tenths to climb higher. Impressive display by Sandon Illiv, currently sitting in position 7. They've set a competitive time, but the question remains whether they can push even harder to secure a better starting position. As Sandon Illiv completes their outlap, they will be hoping they have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. Sandon Illiv has just completed a lap in 1:40.969. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. You've joined us on a breezy day here at LUSAIL 2022, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The calm before the storm. I don't know about you, Lucy, but I'm expecting some hard-fought on-track battles today.
Taking off from the second grid slot is the skilled driver, Jacobus Besson. Jonathan Geldenhuys is third.
Let's see what Jonathan Geldenhuys can do.
Greg Hoffert has qualified fourth.
Greg Hofar will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Ernest Heather lines up in fifth place as the engines rev and the race begins.
Big things expected for Ernest Heather today.
And just like that, the race has started. Now, we'll see who has the skill and nerve to outmaneuver their rivals.
These opening moments can make or break a driver's race. Strategy and skill are key to navigating this intense start.
As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at Simspeed Motorsports for making this all possible. Heroes one and all. Having started in 5, Ernest Heather will be looking to establish themselves in this race.
With this motley bunch of drivers, there is bound to be drama. I just hope we don't miss it.
Every lap is an opportunity for Peter Geldenhuys to learn just a little bit more to shave a few tenths or hundredths off their times.
Every corner, every lap, and every race is a chance for these drivers to hone their abilities and improve their skills.
Races are often more about maintaining consistency than having outright pace, but it doesn't hurt to have a little good luck every now and then. Donovan Liu has got off to a great early start, already gaining places. Gotta be pleased with that start, John, all things considered.
It's early days yet, but if they can keep up this momentum, they might just find themselves on the podium.
Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Ernest Heather in 6th and Willy Van Wyck. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.4 seconds.
Get ready, get ready, get ready. Going green.
Oh, the frustration must be building for Willy Van Wyck. They've just lost 7th position to Jonathan Visser, and they're going to have to work hard to get it back. Oh, the pressure is really getting to Willy Van Wyck. They've just lost 8th spot to Jonathan Visser, and they need to regroup quickly.
They've been focusing so hard on maintaining their position, and now they've slipped back in the field. Meanwhile, Jonathan Visser has been making some great moves and is now on the charge.
It looks like Ernest Heather is in control. They're ahead of JP Brand by over a second, and it doesn't look like they're going to be challenged anytime soon.
JP Brand is certainly pushing all they can, but the gap might just be too much. Unless Ernest Heather makes a mistake, it looks like they'll hold on to third.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. JP Brand will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Absolutely, JP Brand in 4th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Richard Reschke in 9th chases after Jamie Nichols. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Richard Reschke needs to find a way to close the gap.
That's right, Richard Reschke in ninth knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Jamie Nichols is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
Oh, this is getting intense. Ernest Heather is just behind JP Brand. It looks like JP Brand is pushing hard to catch up to Donovan Liu. That's not a small gap, but JP Brand has what it takes to challenge for the position. JP Brand is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Donovan Liu to 0.4 seconds. And JP Brand has just won the place from Donovan Liu.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
Breaking alert. Looks like that's a mistake from Jacobus Basson. This could be costly. It's a battle of wills out there, with Donovan Liu trying to outsmart and outmaneuver JP Brand. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Oh, this is getting intense. JP Brand is just a few car lengths behind Jonathan Geldenhuys.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. JP Brand needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
Look at that, Jacobus Basson is hot on the tail of Jamie Nichols.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
What a move. Jacobus Basson has moved up to 6th.
Impressive. Jacobus Basson is really showing their skill and determination out there.
Things are heating up as Jonathan Geldenhuys tries to close the gap to JP Brand. Braking alert. Looks like that's a mistake from Jacobus Basson. This could be costly. This is a thrilling battle as Jamie Nichols edges closer to Jonathan Visser in their fight for P7.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
Peter Geldenhuys is looking for an opportunity to get round Richard Reschke. The pressure is on for Ernest Heather as they try to catch up to Donovan Liu. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Jonathan Visser is chasing Jamie Nichols in P8. Ernest Heather is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
One wrong move and we could see a spectacular new synchronized pirouette performance by Willy van Wyk and Peter Geldenhuys, though I doubt the judges would give them a perfect score.
Peter Geldenhuys is on a mission, chasing Willy van Wyk, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
This is where every inch counts. Peter Geldenhuys is pushing hard to close the gap on Willy van Wyk. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
The pursuit is on. Ernest Heather is closing the gap on Donovan Liu, determined to claim P3. A great moment for Ernest Heather, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Absolutely, Ernest Heather is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
And we're back, where the drivers are showing us some incredible skills.
Indeed, Lucy, it's always exciting to see these skilled drivers operating such fantastic machines on amazing tracks.
The delta between Greg Hoffert in 5th and Donovan Liu remains over a second, but Greg Hoffert is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap. There's 9 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Greg Hoffart in 5th determined to catch up. But we know Donovan Liu isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Greg Hoffart is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Donovan Liu trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Ernest Heather. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. It looks like Donovan Liu is making a move. The gap to Ernest Heather is now down to 0.4 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting.
Breaking alert. Looks like that's a mistake from Jacobus Basson. This could be costly. This is where the race gets really interesting. Greg Hoffert is closing in on Donovan Liu.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds.
The race is heating up as Donovan Liu in 3rd closes in on Ernest Heather. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's going to be tough for Donovan Liu, as Ernest Heather seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Donovan Liu pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Jonathan Geldenhuys will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Jonathan Geldenhuys tries to reel in Greg Hoffart. But Greg Hoffart is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Jonathan Geldenhuys needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Greg Hoffart and move up the field.
Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement this driver's legendary status.
And the drivers know it too, Lucy. They're giving it everything they've got, and you can see them pushing the limits of the car's capabilities.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Jonathan Geldenhuys in 5th chases after Greg Hoffert. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Jonathan Geldenhuys needs to find a way to close the gap.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Greg Hoffart is not going to give up the position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Jonathan Geldenhuys in P5 doing everything they can to catch up.
It looks like Greg Hoffert is pushing hard to catch up to Jonathan Geldenhuys. That's not a small gap, but Greg Hoffert has what it takes to challenge for the position. It's a battle of wills out there, with Jonathan Geldenhuys trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Donovan Liu. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. It looks like we might get a battle between Jonathan Geldenhuys and Donovan Liu.
This is what racing is all about, hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
John Donovan Liu has seen their lead over Jonathan Geldenhuys shrink to 0.1 seconds.
This is a real test for Donovan Lau. They need to find some extra pace and hold off Jonathan Geldenhuys if they want to win this race.
So, John, considering the high speeds and split-second decision-making involved in racing, what's the impact of even a minor lapse in concentration?
A minor lapse in concentration can have significant consequences, Lucy. It could lead to an off-track excursion, a loss of position, or even a collision. That's why it's crucial for drivers to stay focused and alert throughout the race.
Looks like Jacobus Besson is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curves aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
A brilliant maneuver from Jacobus Besson, who has just moved up the field.
Yes, Jacobus Besson is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
If everything goes as planned, this is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
Disappointing for Donovan Liu, they now find themselves in fourth. 3 cars, 3 different racing strategies. One driver is defending, while the other 2 are relentlessly attacking. This is either going to be great, or a disaster.
You're absolutely right, Lucy. The level of respect these drivers have for each other while pushing their limits is commendable. It's a testament to their professionalism and love for the sport.
Jacobus Besson wants to get into Jonathan Geldenhuys' slipstream. Looking at the lap times, Donovan Liu is not currently on pace with Jonathan Geldenhuys. Maybe they'll get a chance to see where they can improve. As we come into the final moments of this epic race, JP Brand is in the lead. Can they stay calm and bring home the bacon? And it's a checkered flag for JP Brand, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today. Peter Geldenhuys claim 11th. A nail-biting finish, but Ernest Heather claims 2nd place. That was an outstanding performance from Donovan Liu. They fought hard and took the final spot on the podium. Followed by Jacobus Besson, Jonathan Geldenhuys, and Greg Hoffert in 4th, 5th, and 6th. Sandon Iliffe brings home 7th. Eighth sees Jamie Nichols. Jonathan Visser end in 9th. Richard Reshka and Ronnie Jonker take 10th and 12th. It's a beautifully calm day here at LUSAIL 2022, as we're getting ready to get things underway. As the drivers prepare to take off, Ernest Heather sits in second place on the starting grid.
Ernest Heather is looking on for a strong result.
Donovan Liu is lining up third. Taking the fourth spot is Jacobus Besson. The fifth place on the grid belongs to Jonathan Geldenhuys, a driver with plenty of experience.
It's like they're on the outside looking in, close enough to see the front without actually being there.
The lights go out, and we are off to a flying start.
With adrenaline running high, some drivers may take unnecessary risks. Staying patient and knowing when to make a move is essential for a strong start.
The pressure is on when the field is this tightly packed. Maintaining just enough aggression to hold off their rivals without pushing too hard will help these drivers keep it clean.
The drivers will be jostling for the best position, Lucy. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
Out of the gates, and Richard Reshka is already turning heads, gaining positions quicker than a blink of an eye. And they're off. Willy Van Wyck is showing some real determination, making up positions right away.
A blazing start for Willy Van Wyck, but as we all know, slow and steady can still win the race. Let's see if they can hold on to their advantage.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it. Now, this is a challenging position for Jonathan Geldenhuys. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, with Sandon Ilif closing in 0.2 seconds behind and Donovan Liu just ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. Oh dear, Sandon Ilif has dropped down to 10th. Superb driving from Sandon Ilif, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
At this rate, Jacobus Besson and Sandon Ilif are so close, they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
The race is really heating up. Jonathan Visser is hunting down Jamie Nichols with everything they've got. Fantastic move from Jonathan Visser, who has just gained a position.
You can't argue with results like that. Jonathan Visser is really making their mark on this race.
This is wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. The drivers are practically glued together as they fight for every inch of braking update. Looks like Jacobus Besson is coming into the pits early. Now is that to serve a penalty or have they picked up some damage during the start? Look at that. JP Brandt is hot on the tail of Sandon Ilif. Things are heating up as Ronnie Jonker tries to close the gap to Jonathan Visser.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Ronnie Jonker should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Jonathan Visser.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Richard Reschke needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Oh, this is getting intense. Ronnie Jonker is just a few car lengths behind Richard Reschke. A setback for Ronnie Jonker, who has just been passed. It's a brilliant day for racing here at LUSAIL 2022. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing this spectacle.
Things are starting to get tense as JP Brand manages to close the gap to Donovan Liu. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
They need to step up their game and start pulling away again.
The pressure is on for JP Brand as they try to catch up to Donovan Liu. Greg Hoffert is giving it their all as they chase down Sandon Ilif in P4. The action is non-stop as Ernest Heather shadows Jamie Nichols through every twist and turn, determined to claim 6th. What a move! Ernest Heather has moved up to 6th.
That's what we like to see. Ernest Heather is really showing their class today.
Every move counts now as Jonathan Visser works to reel in Richard Reschke and overtake for P8. The tension is building as JP Brand trails behind Jonathan Geldenhuys. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Jonathan Geldenhuys is pushing to maintain the lead, while JP Brand is working to close in and challenge for the position.
Absolutely, JP Brand in second will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
This is a thrilling battle as Greg Hoffert edges closer to Sandon Ilif in their fight for P4. Breaking update. Looks like that's a mistake from Peter Geldenhuys. This could be costly. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Greg Hoffert trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Sandon Ilif. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. The pursuit is on. Jonathan Geldenhuys is closing the gap on JP Brand, determined to claim P1. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Greg Hoffert, who is currently in P5. But Sandon Ilif is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Greg Hoffert. It's game on now. Greg Hoffert has closed the gap to Sandon Ilif. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
We often hear drivers complaining about tire graining. John, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
The race is heating up as Greg Hoffert in 5th closes in on Sandon Iliffe. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. Greg Hoffert is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace.
Greg Hofar appears to be pushing, hopefully they can keep it together.
Things don't seem to be going Richard Reschke's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Greg Hoffert is running 5th. They are trying to catch Sandon Iliffe. Greg Hoffert is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 0.59 seconds down. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Richard Reschke in 8th chases after Jamie Nichols. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Richard Reschke needs to find a way to close the gap. It looks like Greg Hoffert is pushing hard to catch up to Sandon Iliffe. That's not a small gap, but Greg Hoffert has what it takes to challenge for the position.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Greg Hofar in 5th determined to catch up. But we know Sandon Iliffe isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate, Greg Hofar is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Richard Reschke trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jamie Nichols. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Looks like Greg Hoffert is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curves aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
The tension is building as Richard Reschke trails behind Jamie Nichols. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Jamie Nichols is pushing to maintain the lead, while Richard Reschke is working to close in and challenge for the position.
It's going to be tough for Richard Reschke, as Jamie Nichols seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Richard Reschke pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Greg Hoffert trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Sandon Iliffe. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Richard Reschke will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Richard Reschke tries to reel in Jamie Nichols. But Jamie Nichols is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Richard Reschke needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Jamie Nichols and move up the field.
It's a close race between Greg Hoffert and Sandon Iliffe in fourth.
This battle between Greg Hofar and Sandon Iliffe is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Oh dear, Jonathan Visser has had an incident. The race is heating up as Richard Reschke in 8th closes in on Jamie Nichols. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It seems like Richard Reschke has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Jamie Nichols' lap time there. Things are going according to plan for Ronnie Jonker, who is currently 9th.
That's right, they can't afford to make any mistakes or let up in their performance. Every point counts in this championship.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Richard Reschke in 8th chases after Jamie Nichols. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Richard Reschke needs to find a way to close the gap.
That's right, Richard Reschke in 8th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Jamie Nichols is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Greg Hoffert, who is currently in P5. But Sandon Ilith is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Greg Hoffert. It looks like Richard Reschke is pushing hard to catch up to Jamie Nichols. That's not a small gap, but Richard Reschke has what it takes to challenge for the position.
This is where experience comes into play. Jamie Nichols has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Richard Reschke is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Greg Hoffert is chasing Sandon Ilith in P4. In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown. Look at that, Greg Hoffert is hot on the tail of Sandon Ilith. On the final lap now, and JP Brand looks like they might just wrap up this win.
They're not leaving anything on the table.
And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from JP Brand. Jonathan Geldenhuys never gave up. They drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. Impressive drive from Donovan Liu to claim the final spot on the podium. Sandon Ilith and Greg Hoffert in 4th and 5th. In 6th, it's Ernest Heather. With Jamie Nichols in 7th. Taking 8th is Richard Reschke. Ronnie Jonker claim 9th. Willie Van Wyck brings home 10th. 11th sees Jonathan Visser.